Singapore will share classified information on cyberattackers with critical information infrastructure or CII owners, such as water and electricity suppliers. Speaking at a cybersecurity event, Coordinating Minister for National Security K Shanmugam says this is a significant shift in the government's approach as it goes beyond implementing regulations. Nicolas Ng reports.
Imagine going up against an opponent that can linger in your house for months to years on end. One that uses the most sophisticated tools and expertise to steal your information and break your appliances without ever being seen. That's the reality that some of the essential services you and I rely on face, from getting water from a tap or taking the bus to work.
They are not specialists in cybersecurity, yet they are up against some of the best-in-class state-backed cyber threat actors. So the government has decided that it will have to move beyond the traditional regulator-regulatee relationship when it comes to infrastructure owners. The government will partner more closely with them in this fight against cyber attacks.
Information sharing is a key part of the existing relationship. In fact, communication between CII owners and the government played a key role in how Singapore investigated Advanced Persistent Threat Actor UNC 3886's attack. The group was first named in July this year as a serious threat, with the potential to undermine national security.
Up to now, when it comes to issues of classified intelligence and national security, they have been the exclusive domain of the government and have been kept the exclusive domain of the government. But we have decided that this significant shift is necessary for us to level the playing field between attackers and defenders and help to turn the tide against the threat actors.
One telco, an industry with CII operators, says that having clear communication between authorities and other players helps to better protect the industry as a whole.
They see some of these things looking in the dark web or in the sector itself, but that there isn't concrete evidence to prove that it is what it is. So we always want to validate and verify the inputs. And when we come to a landing of whether it is really a genuine alert, if it's genuine, we will follow through.
Authorities will also work with some CII operators to look for threats and conduct mock cyber attacks.
And for more on this, we have cybersecurity expert Yihao Lim with us in studio. He's the lead intelligence advisor of Asia Pacific and Middle East at Google Threat Intelligence Group. Yihao, great to have you with us in the studio.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, as we've heard earlier, the government will now share these classified threat intelligence with the owners of critical infrastructure. Why is this such an important step at this point, especially when it comes to safeguarding against APT-level attacks?
That is because actually APT attacks, they are very sophisticated by nature. And when they attack, they are very stealthy and they are very difficult to detect. So having this intelligence sharing also means that government would now have a greater role in helping critical infrastructure companies sometimes to detect threats that they might not have any idea of them hiding inside, because sometimes they are they don't have access to these kind of sensitive data, and without this data, it's harder for them to start finding threat actors where they are hiding.
Let's talk a bit about those threats then, potential blind spots or vulnerabilities that these CII owners might be facing. Can you tell us what some of those vulnerabilities might be?
Right, so in Singapore's context, CII actually encompasses 11 industries, so it's very broad. In terms of vulnerabilities, it's a big list because for example, from banking to transportation to aviation, these are very diverse industries and they use different technologies. They have a lot of what we call OT, operational technologies that they use, and they have IT as well. So the vulnerabilities can come from either from the supply chain, from third party, or from the software that they use themselves.
And in this case, how would you say Singapore is prepared compared to other countries? Do we have enough safeguards in place?
I would say we are definitely more advanced in terms of planning and dealing with these kinds of threats because, for example, CSA already has this OT security expert panel where they already have hosted for, I think, 3 or 4 years. They share ideas on how to secure OT processes. And this is a move in the right direction because having these classified sharing in place helps to remove some I would say, time delays, because sometimes from an organization's perspective, before you share classified information with an organization that's not cleared, it will take some time, process to filter to make sure the information is clean, that you can share. But now that it's considered a cleared party to share with, the whole process is more efficient, and the time to find the threat actor is also shorter.
So what kind of changes would the critical infrastructure owners have to make now in order to coordinate with this new intelligence sharing model?
I would say the changes would be across the whole people, process, technology part, because cybersecurity always talk about these three components. The first one, people, they would learn to have to deal with sensitive data. How would they handle them? And then comes to process. How would they have workflows that deal with the process? Do they expire them? Do they classify all the data within the organization now? Technology-wise, maybe they need to think about secure file sharing mechanisms. So it could be a big shift from the CII operators' part in order to handle this sensitive information. They cannot treat it just like another file they got from their colleagues.
And speaking of that challenge as well, up to now, classified threat intelligence has always been in the government domain. It's an issue of national security a lot of the time. So what kind of burden or responsibility is now being put on these critical infrastructure owners to then adapt and also perhaps prevent any leaks or any misuse of information?
I would say definitely there will be some pressure from their perspective, because in the past you might just be receiving feeds and it's already cleared, right? So, but now if it's sensitive, the critical infrastructure owners would have to invest to, like as I mentioned earlier, like on their people. How would they deal with? Maybe they need a contact person. Maybe they need to set up a new team to deal with this sensitive information. In terms of process, from policy all the way to the last mile workflows, they have to think about how does this information, gets treated within the organization. How would they need to deal with them across different departments or different teams? Technology-wise, definitely they'll need to think about what kind of sharing mechanisms they need to use. They can't just use email. Maybe they need some other forms of file sharing mechanisms.
Well, the minister also talked about partnering a selected infrastructure owners for threat hunting. So what exactly does that involve, if you can paint a picture for our viewers, and how does it exactly make our defenses stronger?
Okay, threat hunting ideally is to do it while it's in a proactive sense. So we have an operational team, what we call Security Operational Center, that's already running 24/7, for example, that is running as per normal. Threat hunting is kind of like our body's T cells. When they move around your body, even when you're healthy, you still have these T cells trying to look for any bacteria, and they'll try to kill them if they find that this is not something that is normal. So that's what threat hunting is trying to find abnormally in order to eliminate and reduce the time gap between your incident discovery and the response time. Basically to find out proactively where threat actors are hiding, because these APT actors, they're very stealthy. They are very good at making sure your process still run, but I'm just listening to your conversations in the background. That's why you really need this kind of close-knit intelligence sharing mechanism to make the whole thing more efficient.
Yeah. And when all of that comes together also, what do you think this new approach might mean for Singapore's overall national cybersecurity policy?
Ideally, I think it will help us to be more resilient. But of course, there's no 100% in cybersecurity, right? So you can do as much as this to make sure the whole process of information sharing and intelligence collection and sharing is as efficient as possible. But there is never a silver bullet. There will always be a new zero day that can break through defenses. But if you know about cybersecurity, there's this thing called the cyber kill chain. There is a lot of steps the threat actor needs to get in order to get what they want. Could be to get your sensitive data, could be to shut down your systems. But if we could detect them before they reach the final step of getting their objective, mission success, the defenders can still win the whole equation. Yeah.
And speaking of which as well, what are some potential loopholes, before we go, that cyber attackers might still try to manipulate or capitalize on? And how would you say we can kind of plug these gaps apart from what's already being implemented?
There will always be human weaknesses in the whole ecosystem, because humans are vulnerable to social engineering. We sometimes get tired. We are not so vigilant at times. There will always be software vulnerabilities. There will always be a bug that the original software vendor that's not aware that they created. And I think these two factors are just very hard to fix, because it's something that is inherent in us, that we are not perfect, and the software is also not perfect. So these would be, I would say, continuing to give us, more issues down the line.
But these structural changes would definitely help to buffer against these issues as well. Yihao, thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your insights with us.
You.
I've been speaking with Yihao Lim, who is the lead intelligence advisor of APAC and Middle East at Google Threat Intelligence Group. Now, Mr. Shanmugam added that Singapore is also working to build international trust in cyberspace, such as by extending and expanding a program with the United Nations. It will now also cover emerging AI and quantum threats and host better discussions on subjects including responsible state behavior in the digital world.
It has really made a big contribution to the world of, if you will, cyber diplomacy, where people come together and then discuss and then create norms. And, of course, very importantly, how to translate those norms into implementation at the different national, regional levels. Those are the people with the knowledge that have been provided by this fellowship.
Singapore also hosted its annual ASEAN Cyber Drill physically for the first time at the ASEAN Regional Computer Emergency Response Team's facility. 36 participants from 16 countries worked on an exercise simulating a cross-border attack. Malaysia's cybersecurity chief says that countries in the region face similar threats and that such information sharing exercises help boost overall security.
Cybersecurity is a shared responsibility, and sharing information, not just sharing information, sharing experience, will benefit everyone in this kind of activities involving, especially it involves ASEAN member states, where the spirit of collaboration is always high and understanding that we can always work together.